Okay, so welcome to quite a short tutorial on how to list images in a directory. Now really this tutorial deals with listing files and then manipulating this to use some HTML code like an image tag to echo out the images that are listed within a directory. It's going to look like something like this, the end result. I've created 8 images and they're just basically going to be listed down a page. These are all separate images here. Okay, and let me just show you. I've set up my directory structure like this. I've got my show.php file, which is the one we're going to be working with here, and then I have my images folder, and that's got the images in just listed here. Doesn't matter what format they're in at all. They can be mixed formats, they can be all one format, and any format of displayable image file via HTML will work. So here's our show.php. At the moment this is pretty much blank inside here. Obviously we're going to need our PHP tags, and the way we're going to be doing this is we're going to be setting up a variable first of all with the directory of our images. And as I showed you earlier, this is images, and we'll just have a / on there. Be careful with these. Things like backslashes are special characters in PHP that rid the character after this. So for example, if you had images / photos, then this would be read in PHP as this, because this character here cancels the P. So make sure you using / I mean obviously we don't have this photos bit, so we've got our / just there. Okay, the next thing we need to do is use the open dir function, and this is basically going to open a directory for us. It's not going to read the contents of the directory. This is just going to open a specific directory, namely this directory here. So instead of keeping this as it is, what we're going to do is we're going to say if, and we're going to say open dir. We're going to create a new variable, and we're going to say if open dir and dir, so we're matching this to this here, and basically all this does is it's saying if this has successfully completed, and we're also assigning open dir to our open directory so we can manipulate it a bit later on. The reason that we do this is obviously if your directory doesn't exist, you're going to get a bunch of code, some horrible errors, and this basically says if we haven't got any of them errors, then we can continue with the code inside our block here. Okay, so the next bit's a bit more complicated. Let's just start annotating this. This is to open the directory, and inside what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reading the directory. So read dir, and we're going to do this with a while loop, because for each loop around the while loop we want to echo out or rather display the image of each image inside the folder. So we're going to start with our while loop. We'll create what's going to go in it in a minute, and there's our block. We're going to execute the code in between here for our while loop. Okay, so this what we're going to do is we're going to say if file equals read directory, so that's our new function I've just introduced. And obviously you may have guessed we need our open dir variable inside here, so open dir. So this is basically reading the directory that we've already opened using the open dir function. So these are two really useful functions that sort of work in harmony with each other. And again we're going to validate this in a bit and say if doesn't equal false, so if it's not equal to or if it doesn't open, if it can't be read basically. Otherwise we may run into a few errors later on. And obviously with this we need to sort out the structure. We're going to need to put this into parentheses, so let's just put all that into parentheses. Okay, so that should be our while statement complete. Now inside there's a really easy way to do this now, because we've created this file variable and we're inside a while loop. This is going to dynamically update for each file contained within this directory. So all we really need to do now is say echo file, and what we might want to do is just append a br onto the end of that. Okay, so if we open up our browser and refresh, you can see that we've got all our directories listed. Now I do have some other tutorials on directory listing, and I think I've mentioned this before. We've got a dot and a double dot. This is basically just standard notation for directory structures. Dot I think is current directory, two there is to back, or something like that. But what we need to do now is validate this inside out loop to make sure we don't echo out this dot and this and these two dots, sorry. Reason being is if we're displaying these as images, that is not a valid image and that is not a valid image, so we're going to need to get rid of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if file doesn't equal dot, and we need an and here rather than an or, and file doesn't equal dot dot. So as we're looping through, it's going to say, well, does this equal dot? For the first one, the case is going to be yes, so we're going to completely ignore this statement inside our if, this command inside our if statement, and we're also checking for this simultaneously, and they've obviously both got to be true. So now what we can do is refresh, and we see that they've disappeared. Okay, so the next thing to do really is just to manipulate this file variable here to actually make an image. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take away all of this, and I'm just going to write some HTML code as I normally would. So image source equals something in here. You can specify a height and a width, but I'm not going to do this now because my images are all preset height and width. But obviously if you have images that are all different sizes, you're going to want to put them all into the same size, and then maybe have a hyperlink onto them so you can click them and view them individually. But that's pretty straightforward. I'm just showing you the PHP code for now. Okay, and then we're going to have a break after each one. Okay, so inside here, funnily enough, you might think just to put file, but obviously if we refresh this, you can see we've got a bunch of broken images. Reason being, if I click properties, you can see here that we've just said directory images and image 1. We need our images directory in here. So we could write images, but we already have a variable for that, that's dir. So we just say dir/file. So this will be images/file. So now when we refresh, you can see that we're basically back to the page I showed you at the start of the tutorial. Okay, so that's basically it. There are more advanced ways of doing things, I mean to lay them out and things, but if you are having any trouble and you want this a bit more advanced, please contact me and I'll further the tutorial. Alright, well thanks a lot and I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.